Today, we have a really simple one to show how you can create premium looking animations using Eevee in a really simple manner. So without any further waste of time, let's create what I call the never-ending pathway to heaven. In our default scene, we're going to go ahead and scale this down on the y-axis to something really small like 0.1, and then we can scale it on everything but the y-axis. So we have to press S, shift Y so that it scales on the X and Z and not Y, and then type something like 20 so that it becomes this large, and then we can scale it down on the Z to maybe 0.5. It doesn't matter that much, but it's fine just for visual appearances. Then you can press G, Z and grab it up till it lies on the base plane. Remember, to snap it to grid, you can press Ctrl. Once you're happy with that, you can add in a ground plane. So we'll press Shift A, Mesh Plane, and we'll scale it up by 20 as well, and it should match perfectly with our side cube. Now we're going to take the default cube, press 1 or 3 to go into the right orthographic view, and then just grab it on the y-axis and move it back by 20 units so that it comes to the absolute edge of the plane. Once it's at the edge of the plane, we can go ahead and press Shift A and search for an icosphere and add that in. And before we do anything, we can expand the panel over here and increase the subdivisions to something like 6. Once you're done with that, you get a really smooth ball right here. And we can again go to 3 and press GY and bring it till it perfectly matches up with our plane or the cube. And then grab it on the z-axis and just move it up, not by 1, but by 0.7. Of course, this amount is up to your preference. So I'm going to use a value of 0.7, and you can use what you feel like. After that, we're going to select the original default cube, go to the modifiers panel over here, click on add modifier and search for a Boolean modifier. Then for the object, you can select your icosphere and then hit this drop down menu and click apply. Once you've applied it, you can go ahead and hide the icosphere. You can delete it if you want as well, but I'll just hide it in case we need it later on. Now that you have this, you can go ahead and add in an array modifier, switch off relative offset, switch on constant offset and expand it and change distance X to 0, and on the Y, make it something like 2 meters. Now the problem is it clearly did not move by 2 meters, and that's because it's been scaled up this much. So to fix that, we can press Ctrl A and just apply the scale, and immediately 2 meters actually becomes 2 meters. Now you can increase the count to 20 so that you stop it exactly 1 count less than the entire width of your plane. Now you can place your camera. So just select the camera, press Alt G and Alt R to clear location and rotation. You can't see it because it's hidden by these panels, but once you've done that, press RX90 and then grab it on the Y back by -20 units, and that way it'll be there right at the beginning over here. Then you can press 0 on your numpad to go into the camera view and grab it on the z-axis by maybe 0.4 units. And that is the placement of your camera. Now, we obviously don't want to see anything outside the render region. So we can go to our object data properties or your camera properties, go to viewport display and change passport out all the way to 1. Apart from that, you could play around with the focal length, but I'm going to leave it at 50 for this particular animation. Now, the next thing is actually duplicating our cube and plane so that this looks like it's going all the way to infinity. So to do that, I'm going to press 0 and come out of the camera view, select the default cube as well as the plane, and then press Alt D to create a linked duplicate, and then GY and just move it till it perfectly lines up. To do that, you're going to have to move it by exactly 40 units. And now if you actually press 0, you're going to see that it goes much further into the distance. However, anything beyond that will not be seen because we'll just use a plane to block everything out anyway. So to do that, we can go ahead and set all of our render defaults as well as our output defaults and start off with the animation followed by the texturing. So we'll go to the render properties, switch on ambient occlusion, and this is the most important for what we're about to do. You can also switch on bloom and screen space reflections. Apart from that, we'll go to the output properties, change our frame rate to 30 frames per second, change the end frame to 150 so that it's just a 5-second long animation. And for the output, change it to wherever you want it to be with the file format of FFmpeg video. And under the encoding, you have to change the container to MPEG-4, and the output quality can be perceptually lossless. Once you've done that, we'll go ahead and deal with the animation. So we'll select the camera and increase our timeline a little bit. Press the back arrow key once to go to frame number 0, and then press I, location. After that, you can go all the way to frame 150 and just grab it on the y-axis and move it in front by any multiple of 2. To make it perfectly loop. That's because the distance between each plane is 2 units, as we can see in the array modifier. So because it's 2 meters between every 2 plane, if you move the camera by 2 meters, it's going to look exactly the same. Of course, there will be 1 less at the end, but again, we're going to block all of those out. So let's go back and on frame 150, select the camera again. You can select the camera by pressing the outline or selecting it from your outliner, and then just grab it on the Y by, I'll go with 4 units, and then press I, location. Now if you actually play the animation, you see it starts off slow, speeds up, and slows down again at the end, and that's because the default interpolation is Bezier. We don't want that. So we'll go down here and press T, linear. So make sure that your cursor is in the timeline when you press T, and then set it to linear. Now you'll get a perfectly looping animation. The next thing that we have to do is the actual texturing. So we can change our viewport display from solid to rendered by pressing this particular button, and also going to our world properties over here and increasing the color really high. So we'll go to something very close to white. Once you've done that, to actually be able to see these shadows better, you can go back to the render properties, expand the ambient occlusion, and start playing around with this. The first thing is we'll increase the factor beyond 1, so we can make it 2 to make it even more prominent. We might as well go up to 4. Apart from that, also increase the distance to actually increase the effect of this ambient occlusion. Now, maybe a distance of 1.5 looks pretty good and a factor of 4. Apart from that, the actual light is currently present somewhere arbitrarily in its default location. So we'll press Alt G to clear its location and just grab it on the Z axis and move it up a little bit. Apart from that, I don't want it to be this close to the camera, so I'll just press GY and move it back by another maybe 10 units, and then go to the light properties down here and increase the power from 1000 to 10,000. Now that the light actually creates these nice contrast bits, I can actually go to the world properties and increase the color all the way to a complete white. The next thing that we have to do is actually take this light and add in a plane behind it so that everything beyond the light becomes completely white. So we'll press Shift S, cursor to selected, so that the cursor moves through the light and whatever we add gets added right there. Then we can press Shift A, mesh plane, and then press RX 90 and then just scale it up. Apart from that, we don't want it to be exactly where the light is. We want it to be a bit behind the light. So we can press GY and just grab it behind by a little bit. So something like that seems fine. Once you have that set, Shift select the light and then press Control P, set parent to object. So now whenever the light moves, the plane will move with the light. Apart from that, I also want the light to move along with my camera. So I will Shift select the camera after that and then press Ctrl P, set parent to object. So now when I play the animation, you'll get a perfectly looping animation and you won't even see the difference at the back. So to make sure that it's perfectly looping, you can just zoom in to the absolute edge, and between frame 150 and 0, you should see no difference at all. So just go to frame 150 and then again, just click on frame 0 and make sure that there's no difference, at least visually. So I think that's perfectly all right. So we can actually start off with texturing the materials for the cube and the plane. So first, for the cube, we already have the default material applied to it because it was the default cube. So we'll change this material's name from material to walls, and we'll just increase the timeline a little bit and change it from the timeline to the shader editor. Over there, we'll just increase the base color to a complete white, and we'll increase the metallicness to something like 0.8 and decrease the roughness to 0.4. And that's actually all there is to do. Apart from that, we have to create a material for our bottom floor. So you can press new to add in a new material, name it floor. Make sure that you select the base plane first before adding in the new material. So once you've done that, again, we're going to increase the base color all the way to 1. And for the roughness, we're going to press Shift A and search for a wave texture. And we can press Control Shift click to actually see what we have. And we can just increase the size, maybe to something like 10. But instead of using the generated coordinates, we can also press Ctrl T with the node wrangler switched on to get the mapping and texture coordinate nodes. Otherwise, you can add them in manually and change it from generated to object. After that, we can press Shift A and search for a color ramp node so that we get some more control. And we can actually just bring these in if we want. But I'll leave it as is for now and increase the size to something like 20. And then I'm actually going to rotate it on the Z by something like 20 degrees maybe. And now I can just reduce the scale. Maybe I'll keep it at 5. And then I'm going to plug this value from the color ramp into the roughness. After that, I'm going to Control Shift click the principled BSDF to see what we have. Now I think I'm going to increase the scale to 10 itself. And that looks fairly nice for what I wanted to do. Apart from that, I'm also going to increase the metallicness all the way to 0.8. And that's actually all there is to create this particular animation. The wave texture might not be looping in your first try. So what I'd recommend doing is keeping the shader editor window open, clicking and dragging from the junction of these two windows to create a new window and changing this to the timeline. And now you're going to be flipping between frame number 0 and 150 and seeing the differences in the floor. So clearly you can see the floor has moved back a little bit. So the way you make this looping is by changing the scale to fit that. So we'll change the scale first to 10.005 and you see it moved front a bit, but we needed to move front a little bit more, or a lot more actually. So I can just change it to 10.5 and that moved front too much. So 10.4. So 10.4 right now, you just play between front and back and you see how much of a shift there is. So you can see each of these, how it's slowly coming front. So you just play with the scale till you see one for each perfectly. This one has one, this one has one, and it's slowly coming front. I can clearly see that by this one, it's come front way too much. I have to just push it back so that all of those remain within it. If you're finding it just too hard to actually get it to perfectly match up, one thing that you could do is keyframe the phase offset as well to just fix up the little deviation that might be present. So for example, let's say I like a scale of 10. I'll go ahead and press I on the phase offset at frame 0. Then at frame 150, I'm just going to change the phase offset till it matches up to exactly how it was initially. So it was just like that. If I go back to frame 0, you can see the shiny portion, the last bit of it just ends right after this point. So I'm going to do the exact same thing at 150. I'm just going to change the phase offset so that the last bit of the shiny portion ends just a bit after that junction. So something like that seems fine. Now press I. And then again, with the node selected, come here, T linear. So now when you play it, you won't be able to notice it normally, but the floor is actually moving a little bit relative to the walls, such that at the end of the animation, it perfectly matches up with the previous loop. And it looks like it's a perfectly looping animation. The only thing left for you to do is press render animation. Hopefully you found this interesting and helpful, especially if you're a beginner. Of course, this can act as the base to many different kinds of animations. You could make it dark and sci-fi as well. You could make it much more abstract and give textures to the walls as well. It's really up to you to make the most of this. Maybe even include particles just like I did in the previous video. But whatever it is, thank you so much for watching. And until the next video comes out, don't forget to stay creative.